My brother used to break into my house every day. Not violently, not dramatically, just casually, like it belonged to him. No knocking, no warning. Sometimes I'd be in the shower and hear footsteps. Other times I'd come home from work and find lights on, food missing, drawers moved, and every single time he'd look at me like I was the problem. Relax, he'd say. It's family. My name is Mila, and for years I lived in a house that technically belonged to me, but functionally belonged to my brother. Before I tell you how I left without telling him, and why the police were the ones who finally made him stop, tell me something. Where are you listening from? Because if you've ever had someone invade your life and call it love, I know you'll understand this story. It didn't start suddenly. It started the way these things always do. Quietly, with excuses. My brother Ethan is 2 years older than me. Growing up, he was the golden child. Loud, confident, always forgiven. I was the opposite, the responsible one. The fixer, the one who learned early that keeping the peace meant swallowing discomfort. When our parents passed within 3 years of each other, the house they left behind was split unevenly. Not legally, emotionally. They left the house to me. On paper. But in everyone's mind, it was still the family house, which apparently meant Ethan felt entitled to it. At first, he asked, "Mind if I stop by? Can I crash for a bit? Just need somewhere to work." Then the asking stopped. He copied my spare key without telling me. I found out when he joked about it at dinner. "Relax, Mila." He laughed. "What if you lose yours?" I didn't laugh back. The first time I confronted him, he rolled his eyes. "You're being dramatic. I'm not a stranger." The second time, he got annoyed. "Why are you acting like this is some crime?" By the third time, he stopped pretending I had a say. He came every day, sometimes multiple times a day. He used my kitchen like it was his, left his shoes by the door, slept on my couch without asking. Once, I came home with a migraine and found him hosting friends in my living room. They were drinking my wine. He didn't even pause the conversation when he saw me. "Oh, hey, we'll wrap up soon." That night, I locked myself in my bedroom and cried quietly, not because I was scared, but because I felt erased. When I told my aunt what was happening, she sighed and said, "Well, he's been struggling. Be patient." When I told my cousin, she said, "That's just Ethan. You know how he is." No one asked how I was, because I was the one who always handled things. I tried changing the locks. He noticed within hours. "What the hell is this?" he demanded, holding up his key. "Why doesn't it work?" "I need boundaries," I said, my voice shaking despite my effort to stay calm. He stared at me like I'd insulted him. "So now you're locking me out of my own family?" "Your own family, not your own house." That night, he kicked the door hard enough to scare me. Didn't break it, just enough to make a point. After that, I stopped sleeping well. Every sound made me tense. Every creak of the floorboards made my heart jump. I started keeping my phone on loud at night, just in case. Still, I told myself it wasn't that bad, because that's what people like me do. We minimize until we disappear. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. I came home early from work, exhausted, only to find him in my bedroom. Going through my closet, I froze in the doorway. "What are you doing?" I asked. He didn't even look embarrassed. "Looking for a jacket. It's cold." "That's my room," I said. He shrugged. "So?" Something in me snapped. Not loudly, but cleanly. "I need you to leave," I said. He laughed. "Stop pretending this is serious." I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I just turned around and walked out of my own house. That night, I didn't go back. I stayed with a friend, staring at the ceiling, realizing something terrifying and liberating at the same time. I wasn't safe in a place I owned, and Ethan knew it. The next morning, I made a decision I'd been circling for years. I wouldn't fight him. I would disappear. Quietly. I didn't tell anyone I was moving. Not my brother, not my extended family, not even friends who might slip and mention it. I packed slowly, methodically. Only essentials at first. Documents, clothes, things that mattered. I moved them out when Ethan wasn't around. He didn't notice, because he wasn't looking at me. He was too busy enjoying the access. 2 weeks later, the house was empty, not staged, not cleaned for him, just gone. I left the utilities active, left the furniture. I wanted him comfortable. I wanted him careless. On a Friday night, my phone buzzed. "Ethan, where are you?" I didn't respond. An hour later, "Why is the fridge empty?" Still nothing. The next morning, "Mila, this isn't funny." By Sunday, the tone changed. "You can't just disappear. This is insane." I waited. Then, Monday morning, I called the police. Not to report him, not yet. I asked a simple question. What constitutes trespassing when someone has no permission and no legal access? The officer's answer was calm. If he enters without consent and refuses to leave, that's unlawful entry. I smiled for the first time in weeks. I changed the locks again, this time legally documented, installed cameras, filed a notice of no trespass with my local precinct. Then I waited. Ethan returned that evening. The camera caught everything, him trying the key, him rattling the handle, him cursing. Then, like always, he forced a window. That's when I called. "Someone is breaking into my house," I said. "My brother. He has no permission." The police arrived in under 10 minutes. He was still inside when they entered, confused, angry, arrogant. "This is a misunderstanding," he kept saying. "She's my sister." The officer looked at him and asked, "Does she live here?" "No," Ethan said. "But does she allow you to be here?" Silence. They escorted him out in handcuffs, not violently, not dramatically, just officially. I watched the footage later from my new apartment. I didn't feel joy. I felt relief. The calls came after. From family. From people who suddenly wanted to understand both sides. I didn't argue. I just sent one sentence. "He broke into my home. The police handled it." Ethan didn't come near me again. A restraining order followed. Consequences followed. And the house? I sold it. Moved somewhere no one knew. Because sometimes revenge isn't loud. Sometimes it's just reclaiming your right to feel safe. My brother used to break into my house every day. Now he can't even come near my life. And that's not cruelty. That's peace. I thought that would be the end of it. That once the police took him away, once the restraining order was signed, once the locks were changed and the house was sold, the story would close itself neatly. But people like my brother don't disappear quietly when they lose control. They spiral. The first week after the arrest, he told everyone who would listen that I had betrayed him, that I was unstable, that I'd overreacted and ruined his life over a misunderstanding. My phone stayed silent, but my inbox didn't. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly cared. Aunts sent messages that started with "I understand both sides" and ended with "but he's family." That word again. Family. As if it explained why my boundaries were optional. As if blood erased fear. As if being related meant I owed someone access to my body, my space, my peace. I didn't respond. For the first time in my life, I let people sit with their discomfort instead of rushing to fix it. Ethan tried contacting me through mutual friends, then through my work email, then through a burner number I didn't recognize. Each time, I forwarded the message to my lawyer. Each time, the paper trail grew. The restraining order hearing happened 3 weeks later. I sat in the courtroom, hands folded in my lap, listening as my brother tried to explain why breaking into my house wasn't a big deal. He said things like, "She never told me not to. She always let me before. She's exaggerating." The judge looked at him and asked one simple question. "Did you have permission on the day you entered?" He hesitated. That hesitation said everything. When the judge granted the extended order, I didn't smile. I didn't feel victorious. I felt something quieter, something heavier. Final. After that, the family narrative shifted. Suddenly, it wasn't about me being dramatic. It was about me being cold. "You didn't have to take it that far," my aunt said. "You could have handled it privately." Privately. Like I had tried. Like I had begged. Like I had explained. Like I had minimized my fear so no one else would feel uncomfortable. What they really meant was, you broke the unspoken rule. The rule that said I was supposed to absorb the damage so others didn't have to face it. I didn't attend family gatherings anymore. Not out of anger, out of self-respect. In my new apartment, the silence felt different. It wasn't tense. It wasn't lonely. It was safe. I slept through the night for the first time in years. I cooked meals without someone taking from my plate. I showered without listening for footsteps. And slowly, the version of myself I'd lost started coming back. The version that laughed, that breathed deeply, that didn't flinch at sounds. Months later, I ran into Ethan by accident at a grocery store. He froze when he saw me. For the first time, he looked smaller, not physically, emotionally. He opened his mouth, probably to say something rehearsed. I didn't wait. I turned down a different aisle and kept walking. Because the truth is, I didn't need closure from him. I had already closed the door. Selling that house wasn't just a financial decision. It was symbolic. I sold the version of myself that believed love meant endurance, that family meant sacrifice without limits, that silence was safer than confrontation. Now, my life is quieter, smaller in some ways, but it's mine. People ask me sometimes if I regret calling the police, if I wish I'd handled it differently. I always give the same answer. I wish I'd done it sooner. Because protecting yourself isn't revenge, it's responsibility. And walking away from someone who keeps crossing your boundaries isn't cruelty, it's survival. My brother used to break into my house every day. Now, he doesn't even have access to my thoughts. And that's the most peace I've ever known.